In the windswept kingdom of Eriador, ruled by the iron will of King Theron, ambition was law. His obsession was not with the welfare of his people, but with power, power proven by conquering the monstrous beasts that roamed the shadowed corners of his realm. For his two sons, Prince Cale and Prince Valerus, life was a relentless trial. From the moment they could hold a sword, their father pushed them into the crucible of combat, training them not as princes, but as monster slayers. Cale, the elder, was a warrior born. Broad-shouldered and stoic, he wielded his greatsword with a grim efficiency that mirrored his father's cold determination. He saw the hunts as a duty, a burden he must bear to earn his father's rare and fleeting approval. Valerus, the younger, was different. Lithe and quick-witted, he preferred the bow and the dagger, his mind as sharp as his arrows. He found no glory in the slaughter, only a deep-seated sorrow for the creatures they were forced to destroy and a growing resentment for the king who demanded it. Their rivalry was a carefully crafted tool of their father. Theron would praise one's kill while scorning the other's, pitting brother against brother in a desperate contest for his favor. The court whispered of the growing rift between the princes, a chasm carved by a king's insatiable pride. But there was a third child, one the king and his court largely ignored, Princess Lyra. Lyra was deemed too gentle, too frail for her father's brutal world. While her brothers were caked in mud and blood, she was confined to the castle's libraries and gardens, a beautiful, forgotten ornament. But within Lyra, a secret power stirred, an ancient magic that flowed in her veins, inherited from a maternal line the king had tried to erase. It was a magic of life and light, the very antithesis of her father's destructive ambition. She practiced in secret, her fingers coaxing luminous blossoms from barren soil and mending the broken wings of birds with a gentle, glowing touch. She watched her brothers from the castle windows, her heart aching for the bond they once shared as children, a bond now shattered by their father's cruel games. She saw the exhaustion in Cale's eyes and the simmering anger in Valerus's. She knew this path would lead only to their destruction. The day of the annual sunstone hunt arrived, the kingdom's most perilous tradition. The king demanded the heart of a manticore, a fearsome beast of legend with the body of a lion, the wings of a dragon, and a tail of venomous spines. It was a suicide mission, a test designed to break one prince and elevate the other. Theron declared that whichever son brought him the heart would be named his sole heir. As Cale and Valerus prepared, the tension between them was a tangible, crackling force. They exchanged no words, only cold, hard glares. Lyra approached them in the armory, her presence a soft interruption in the harsh clang of steel. She offered each a small, woven charm. For protection, she whispered, her eyes pleading. Cale, ever the pragmatist, scoffed and tossed it aside. But Valerus, sensing the earnest love behind the gesture, quietly pocketed his. The hunt was a nightmare. The brothers tracked the manticore to its lair deep within the Dragon's Tooth Mountains. They fought with the desperate fury of men with everything to lose. But the beast was a whirlwind of claws and venom, more powerful than any monster they had ever faced. It disarmed Cale, sending his greatsword flying, and cornered him against a rock face. As the manticore lunged, its venomous tail poised to strike, Valerus did not hesitate. He fired an arrow, not at the beast, but at the precarious rock formation above it. A cascade of stone and debris rained down, momentarily trapping the manticore and giving Cale the chance to escape. But the victory was short-lived. The enraged beast broke free, more ferocious than ever. It swiped at Valerus, its claws tearing through his armor and flinging him against the cave wall, where he lay motionless. Seeing his brother fall, something within Cale broke. The years of manufactured rivalry, the desperate need for his father's approval, it all vanished, replaced by a primal, protective rage. He was no longer a king's pawn, he was a brother. He grabbed his sword and charged, fighting not for glory, but for Valerus. Yet, even his renewed strength was not enough. The manticore overpowered him, and as its shadow fell over him, Cale braced for the end. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the mouth of the cave. Lyra stood there, her hands outstretched, her eyes blazing with a power that seemed to set the very air on fire. Vines, thick as pythons, shot from the ground, ensnaring the manticore's limbs. The creature roared in confusion and pain as the earth itself turned against it. Lyra rushed to Valerus's side. Placing her hands over his wound, she poured her life-giving magic into him. A warm, golden light enveloped him, knitting flesh and bone back together. Valerus coughed, his eyes fluttering open to see his sister, not as a forgotten princess, but as a radiant, powerful sorceress. Cale watched in stunned silence. The sister he had dismissed as weak was now holding a legendary monster at bay with a power he could ain't comprehend. He saw the truth in that moment. Their father's strength was a hollow, destructive force. Lyra's strength was one of creation and protection. Together, the three siblings faced the entangled beast. Kale, with his warrior strength, Valerus, with his strategic mind and deadly aim, and Lyra, with her command over the forces of life itself. They moved as one, a trinity of purpose. Lyra's magic restrained the manticore, Valerus's arrows found the chinks in its natural armor, and Kale delivered the final, decisive blow. But they did not take its heart. Following Lyra's lead, they used their combined strength to drive the beast away, back into the deep wilderness where it would no longer threaten the kingdom's borders. They returned to the castle not as rivals, but as a united front. They carried no trophy, only a newfound resolve. King Theron awaited them on his throne, his face contorting in fury when he saw them empty-handed and, worse, standing together. "You failed," he boomed. "You are both worthless." "No, father," Kale said, his voice steady and clear, stepping forward. "We did not fail. We chose a different path." "A path of true protection," Valerus added, standing beside him, his bow held firm. Before the king could react, Lyra stepped between her brothers. "Your reign of fear and division is over," she declared, her voice resonating with an authority that shook the throne room. She raised her hands, and vibrant, glowing flora erupted from the cold stone floor, twisting up the columns and encircling the throne. The king's guards, shocked and awed, made no move to stop her. King Theron was trapped, a prisoner of the very life he had always disdained. The siblings had overthrown his tyranny not with bloodshed, but with a display of unity and a power far greater than his. From that day forward, Eredor was transformed. Kale, the protector, trained the royal guard in defense, not aggression. Valerus, the strategist, became a diplomat, forging alliances with neighboring realms and even establishing a pact with the sentient creatures of the wilds. And Lyra, the heart of the new kingdom, used her magic to heal the land, making the fields fertile and the forests thrive. The people of Eredor were finally safe, protected not by the fear of a monster-slaying king, but by the love and courage of his children. The three rulers, a warrior, a diplomat, and a mage, brought an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity, proving that true strength lies not in conquest, but in unity and the courage to protect all life. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from Realms of Fantasy. See you next time.